What's going on, everybody? I'm Jeff Carpenter with vFlat World, and I'm in my studio today by myself because we're shooting self-portraits. I'm going to show you 3 different ways to capture them, as well as 3 different setups to get 3 different looks using 1 light, 1 modifier, and 1 V-flat. The 3 looks we're gonna get today are a gray background, a black background, and a near white background. Notice I didn't say pure white, I said near white. That's because we only have 1 light. It's hard to get pure white with just 1 light, but we're gonna get it pretty darn close in camera to where you can just affect the curves a little bit and probably get it to pure white in post. The first look we're gonna go for is having a neutral gray background. The way we achieve that is we place myself and the light a little bit further away from the background. The closer we bring that to the background, the more light from this key light is gonna hit that. So that's gonna brighten that background up a bit. So since we kind of want that, again, that neutral gray, we're gonna bring me, I'm about 10 feet away from that V-flat behind me. The light's about 3 feet away from me. So with that, we're gonna get a nice exposure on me and also a nice clean gray background from that V-flat. Now that we've talked about the lighting to get a gray background, I'm gonna talk about how I'm gonna capture the image itself. Obviously, I can't be behind the camera over there, so we're gonna have to trigger it some other way. So what I'm doing for this one is I'm using my go-to setup for any studio shoot that I do, and that is just tethering into my computer here. So I'm able to trigger it directly from my computer. So I've got my computer here. I can just trigger it with that, and then I've got the cable plugged directly into my camera. So that's the easiest way, I think. Obviously, if you don't tether, I'm gonna show you a couple other ways that you can do it that will work just as well. All right, so to fit the aesthetic of this gray background shot, I threw on this jacket. It also works well because I'm able to clip my microphone down a little bit further so you don't see it in the actual image, but you can still hear me talk, albeit maybe a little quieter than before because it's not right up here. So again, for this, I'm triggering it by tethering directly into my computer. And the cool thing about this is I can actually see with the live view on my computer where I am in frame. So if I'm a little off to the side here, I can actually see that on here, and I can just kind of position myself, push the button, it's gonna go ahead and trigger it automatically, and it's gonna focus as well. All right, so there you have it. That is how you get a gray background while tethering directly in your computer. So for the next shot, we're gonna go ahead and get a near white background, and I'll show you how you do that in just a second. All right, so for this second shot, we're gonna get a nearly white background. Not a pure white background because that would actually be impossible with just a single light source without overexposing myself. So what I did was I kept my V-flat in exactly the same spot it was for the gray background, but I moved myself a lot closer to it and I moved the light further away. So what I have to do to compensate and get the correct exposure for me is bump up the power of the light source, which is gonna hit me and it's gonna keep on going, hit the background, create an almost white background. And then I've got this side as well just to act as a little bit of fill. So the light, instead of being directly kind of overhead like it was butterfly light of the first shot, I brought it over to the side just to kind of get a little bit of kickback from this side of the V-flat as well. The way I'm gonna trigger this one is I'm actually going to use a technique that is used for stop motion animation or time-lapse photography, which is just the time-lapse feature inside my camera. What that does is you can set an interval and a number of shots you want to take. So I just chose to do 10 shots at a 3-second interval. And what that allows me to do is just kind of get one shot. Obviously that's going to be a blank frame. I can then hop on around, sit in my shot, and then I can be here for the shot I know it's going to be taken every 3 seconds. The downside of this one obviously is you can't see what the images look like or see if you're in frame before you take the shot. So it's kind of a little bit more of a guessing game for this one, but it works just as well if you can't tether or something like that. So let's go ahead and get started and then we'll go ahead and show you the final image. So for this, what I'm gonna do, obviously my shirt is a little bit short, but it's only from here up, so it doesn't really matter. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna go ahead and put this into time lapse. We've got a 10-shot interval at 3 seconds apiece. And all we're gonna do here is we're just gonna go ahead and snap one shot. It may have trouble focusing because it's a blank frame, just shooting right into the white V-flat. So you might need to kind of angle it over a little bit, try and get the seam, and then move it back. So again, they're probably gonna have about 2 shots that are blank frames. So now let's going. All right, so I think that was 10. What I'll do is I'm gonna go around the back, I'm gonna look for it. It's probably gonna ask me if I wanna create a video. Obviously for this one I don't. So yeah, it says create video now. I'm just gonna say no. And what that's gonna do is I can then go in and just look at the individual photos. And I was pretty in frame for most of them. But let's go ahead and shoot one more round to make sure we really got one. And then we'll move on to the third look. All right, so I think we got it. So let's go ahead and jump into the third and final look, which is gonna be a black background. We're also gonna shoot with a little bit of split light just to make it a little bit more dramatic. And I'll show you the third and final way to capture it. For the third and final shot, we're gonna go for a much more dramatic black background portrait. I've thrown on kind of a darker black coat of some sort. I've also flipped around to the black side of the V-flat, and I've brought my light from the other side of the room way back there next to me, kind of feathered away from the black background just to give me some split light. So we want a really dramatic look. Split light's a really great way to do that. And I'm feathering it away from the background just a little bit, just so it doesn't hit it at all and lighten it up. I want it to be pure black. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and use the third and final way to trigger it, which is a remote trigger, or in my case, I've got it a Wi-Fi connection from my camera straight to my phone. With modern cameras, this is kind of a little bit easier to do. So what I've got, it creates a Wi-Fi signal, connect. Your camera will probably be different than mine, so I'm not going to explain that at all. But what I can do is, just like when I was tethering, I can see the frame in here, which is really cool. So I can actually see whether I'm in frame, whether I'm out of frame, whether my camera is getting focus, and then I can go ahead and trigger it straight from here as well. So what we'll go and do is we'll go and shoot just a few, and then we'll show you all three final images, and then we'll let you be on your way. All right, so there you have it. There's 3 ways you can take a self-portrait, 3 different ways to trigger, 3 different looks, 1 light, 1 V-flat. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more videos like this, be sure to subscribe and follow VFlat World, and check them out online at vflatworld.com. If you want to check out any of my work, check me out on Instagram at ReadyLightMedia or at nextlevelworkshops.com, and I'll see you next time.